All right, ladies and gentlemen, last story of the day. It's President's Day. And they've ranked the presidents. This is from today or from 2025. America's best and worst presidents ranked. The best president is the genocidal Abraham Lincoln. Of course. Then George Washington. Then FDR, who put us on a war footing. You'll have liberal professors tell you that FDR put us on a war footing that we have never gotten off of. Theodore Roosevelt, who kind of injected himself into the public slaves, the Union Buster and stuff like that, and kind of took all this federal land, that we still don't have back. Dwight D. Eisenhower, I don't mind him. That's not too bad. He's not my favorite, but I have no problem with him. Truman, he dropped a couple atomic bombs on innocent civilians, but hey, he's great. Jefferson, I'm okay with. Kennedy, the only reason Kennedy's on this list, and I'm sorry, is because he got shot in the head. If Kennedy went 4 years, he probably would be mid-tier of a president. But because he was killed off, he got martyred. That's the only reason he's on that side. Ronald Reagan, boomers love a Reagan. What can I say? I'll even tell people like, oh, Reagan was great. And then I'll say, oh, yeah, he was great with the gun control and the no default divorce and the amnesty and all that other kind of stuff. And then, of course, you can't leave the black guy off, and then you're racist. You're racist if you don't put Obama on the best list. The worst, Zachary Taylor, Herbert Hoover, yes. Harding, Miller Fillmore, Tyler, William Henry Harrison. I don't know how William Henry Harrison makes the bottom 10. The guy didn't even last that long in office. He died because he gave like a 45-minute speech. No, he gave like a 2-hour speech. I think William Henry Harrison is the one because his campaign, he was made out to be like a redneck. And so he wanted to prove everybody wrong. So he gave like a 2-hour speech. He got pneumonia and died. Donald Trump, of course, he's one of the worst. Of course, he's one of the worst. Franklin Pierce, poor Franklin Pierce. His family died, and he was an absolute wreck. After that, the story about Pierce is actually pretty sad. Because he was brought in, they thought it was going to work. His kid died. He just went into an absolute drunken. And it was it. Johnson, I agree with. Buchanan, I agree with. Who was the one before FDR? I'm blanking out right now. One of you history nerds will tell me who was the one. Who was the one before him? He's terrible. He's not Harding. Was he Harding? No, he was oh man, somebody help me. I'm dying over here. Woodrow Wilson. Is he on this list? No, Woodrow Wilson, a guy who literally played, who was a eugenicist and an absolute psycho. Yes, Wilson, I am. Yes, thank you guys. You got me. You helped me out. Appreciate it. Woodrow Wilson needs to be on that list. He was god awful. Awful. George W. Bush, you could put on the bottom 10 because he, put Patriot Act, War on Terror, all that kind of stuff. He could easily be on there. You know who should be on the top 10 list? That's not Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge. Best president in my one of the best presidents in my view. Absolutely. Cool Cal. Because my favorite story, because he didn't talk. Obviously the opposite of me. And there's a very funny story. Whether it's true or not, I don't even know. It's one of these historical anecdotes. So he's at a White House dinner, and this nice young lady is sitting next to him. And she goes, Mr. President, I have a bet that I can get you to say 3 words tonight. Calmly takes a drink, looks at her and says, you lose. That's kind of, he was very much off. He was hands off as far as the roles of the executive. I think he was actually really good in that regard. That's funny. Gee, I can do that. So Coolidge should definitely be on that list. I would swap out Coolidge for Truman. I would put him in there. Lincoln is the worst. All right. Killed 500, launched a war in a sovereign country, blah, 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 blah. The droner in chief, I don't think he should be on there. The Obamacare, which has destroyed the medical system, I don't think he should be on there. Um, and the one that I have the most connection to, and he should actually be on the bottom tier. Good old John Adams. Good old John Adams. Yeah. Uh, why do I like John Adams? Because he was a short, husky man who had a temper from the Northeast. And what can I say? I have a bit of a kindred spirit with him. Excellent lawyer, terrible president. Excellent speaker, terrible president. Um, because he's also the author of the famous quote, "I am everything and I am nothing." And he used to spend his days as vice president berating the Senate because I'm the president of the Senate. So he would just berate the Senate until they were like, just get out of here, just leave. um, so yeah, I have a soft spot for John Adams, even though he was a terrible president. But what are you gonna do? Not many people were doing much, but these lists are always terrible from C-SPAN. The presidents were judged on their vision they had for America, their public persuasion, crisis leadership, economy, moral authority. Yeah. See, this is just crap. These are all just absolute crap. I mean, the dean of College of Liberal Arts at Norfolk State University, Cassandra Newby Alexander. Okay, yeah. So all the Democratic presidents were great, and they just throw Reagan in there to kind of shut people up. Like, oh look, we have a Republican. They throw Reagan and Eisenhower in there to shut people up. I guess Theodore Roosevelt as well. Lincoln should not be there. Washington because he set the standard. He left after 2 terms, Cincinnati and so forth. But after that, it's like Washington, Jefferson a little bit, Madison and Mason both were pretty good. 4 out of the top 5 were pretty good. Then there was Coolidge. Then we really haven't. I don't even think I wouldn't put Don in the worst. I wouldn't put Donnie in the worst. I would put him probably mid tier right now because we'd have to see what his second term does, but I don't think there's a lot worse presidents than Donald Trump. This is just spite. This is just liberal spite here. The fact that they put him in, not Wilson, is just ridiculous.